Parliament have been insistent on having ministers of state appear in person to answer questions from MPs. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta bore the brunt of Parliament last week when he failed to appear to answer questions. According to Minority Chief Whip Muntaka Mubarak, the House must crack the whip on ministers who refuse to appear before the House to answer questions.
Ministers are gradually turning this House, the Speaker, for lack of better word, like a joke. Because, Mr. Speaker, they wait until the morning of asking the questions. Then now they will run to you that I cannot come because there's one urgent thing or the other. Mr. Speaker, for the Minister for Transport in particular, yes, he used to be one of those who happily come to the House and answer questions. But, Mr. Speaker, of late, time and time again, Mr. Speaker, I can recollect that this will be about the third time I alone is raising concern about his inability to appear before the House. Mr. Speaker, we'll be grateful that you help this House hold these ministers accountable, because this is one of the tools that is used in holding them accountable. So for the ministers to be picking and choosing when they want to come, Speaker, I believe as a House we need to resolve, because unless the person is sick, you have deputy ministers, you don't even have the courtesy of sending even a deputy minister.
His comments came on the back of Transport Minister's failure to appear before the House to answer 9 questions in the name of some MPs. In a rare show of bipartisan support, Majority Chief Whip Frank Anodompre backed the arguments of his colleagues in the minority and called for the naming and shaming of such ministers.
You cannot bring your correspondence or excuse duty on the same day that you are supposed to appear before this House. That is totally unacceptable. And it's something we shouldn't romance at all. And probably this will be the last. We will not entertain this kind of attitude and bring in the notice at the very day you are supposed to take your question. That will not be accepted. And I'm not too happy about it. So I'm in total agreement with the worries we expressed, especially relative to the Transport Minister. And like you rightly said, he's one of the ministers who have been very diligent. But these days, his attitude leaves a lot to be desired. So, Speaker, I'm only going to plead that we will try and reprogram him for him to appear.
Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin warned ministers of state that he will not tolerate their continuous absence in the House.
Ministers don't decide when they will appear to the House to answer the questions. That decision is not for ministers. That decision is for the House and the Speaker. This constitutes contempt of the House. I am tempted to refer his conduct to the Privileges Committee. But because of the intervention of leadership, I will resist that temptation. But the next conduct tantamount to this behavior will be referred to the Privileges Committee.
All right, we're back on the AM show. Thank you for staying. And we'll be discussing some of those all-important matters from Parliament and beyond. We'll definitely be looking at the National Cathedral. We'll take some snippets of that. We'll be looking at the CD's own challenges. We'll be looking at other matters of great concern, fuel shortage that is looming, among others. Now, joining us for the discussion, Murtala Muhammed is Member of Parliament for Tamale Central. We also have Davis Ansah, Opoku, Member of Parliament for Mpraeso. They joined the conversation this morning. Gentlemen, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, some ground rules. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is the first time you're here with me, right?
Yes.
Okay, so some ground rules. We're going to start with other conversations before we get into the bit about the COVID-19 expenditure, which dovetails into what the Speaker has been saying. You just saw in the shot about ministers not attending to Parliament or responding to questions. We'll also talk about the fuel shortage. But please, let's let our comments be as incisive, concise, straight to the point as possible before we get into these two. I'd like to start on the tangent of the National Cathedral, Davis. And there's been a lot of talk about it in recent times. I remember engaging the Member of Parliament for 2nd D, who is also Deputy Minister of Energy. And he made mention, and I'm talking about Andre Japamesa, he made mention of the fact that for him, if he had his way, the entire project would be funded by the government of Ghana. And there are those who have disputed this. Bright Simmons says, look, even the Sakumono Shrine will be more patronized than the National Cathedral. We've seen things coming from the board. We've seen so many things coming out about costing, about David J and 22 million and another 10 million and all of that. But what is your take, since you're joining me for the first time, on this National Cathedral expedition, on the response from Ghanaians and whether we should even be continuing with this project?
Well, let me say a very good morning to our viewers and also my good friend Murtala. We serve on the same committee in Parliament. And just to say that I agree with Japamesa that the state should solely fund the building of the cathedral. Why do I say so? One, the impression is being created that a cathedral will be a place of, let's say, worship where Christians will converge every Sunday to want to worship God or to worship God. And this sort of propaganda or this sort of message has been put out there by our friends. And I think that it's unfortunate that
But is that a role that at some point the cathedral will not play?
I'm coming. And it's unfortunate that elements within government have failed to explain to Ghanaians what really this cathedral will be used for. Today in our country, we would admit that we lack a place where we could converge as a people. We all know on the 7th of January, just after elections, presidents are supposed to be sworn before Parliament. For lack of space, we have always yielded to the Independence Square, where Parliament would have to move from the Independence Square to from the President of Parliament to Independence Square, largely because of the persons or individuals that are invited to also observe proceedings. When we have a state funeral, when we have recently the former Second Lady of Ghana, funeral was held at the President of Parliament, just in front of the forecourt of the State House, and clearly you could see that it was not a proper place, so-called, to have held the funeral. Cathedrals worldwide, when you go to the UK, when you go to the US, have served that purpose, where national events, huge events are held. Today, if on the January 7th we are swearing in a president and it rains, what do? It means that the whole program has to be called off. Two, the cathedral, looking at the...
So the whole program has to be called off, and there's no other location that we can hold such an event?
Well, we don't. Now we have resorted to...
We have the conference center, we have the National Theatre, we have...
So you realize that...
even Job 600, Parliament, the last time, served as where we swore in...
Job 600?
Parliament.
Yes.
The premises of Parliament. That's where we conducted the swearing in of the president and all of that.
I agree.
We have more than enough structures.
I can tell you that those tents that you see at Parliament, those tents that when you go to the conference center you see there, are rented to the state. These are owned by private individuals who rent it out to the state. And you need to go and look at the figures involved. But all
paying $350+ million.
All I'm saying is that the time is now for the state to have a national place of conversion. And for me, it is the more reason why I support that the state should, as a matter of urgency, accept the fact that the National Cathedral is of importance to us as a people and fund it, from state coffers. Already they are doing that. But if you look at the way that people keep on dancing around Okujetua Blakwa would every day surprise us with documents and create the impression that there's some illegality being conducted, for me, it is.
You say surprise us with documents, but if the documentation is correct and if
we're just that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
The legality of everything. What's wrong with that?
As of now, the biggest investment anybody could give to the construction of that cathedral is the land, and it was provided for by the state. So what is wrong if the state now admits that we want to go ahead and pay for the construction of the edifice? For me,
we've not got there yet. But like I said, that is a suggestion from Andre Japamesa. And you think that we should foot the entire 350 million plus,
But because of the importance of that infrastructure to the state.
Right.
Today, go to the UK. Cathedrals in UK employ over thousands of people. And the level of investment that the UK government is getting out of these cathedrals, it will amaze you. It serves as a tourism site. Recently I was in the UK for a training program, and as part of the training package, we were to visit some national sites, and that included a cathedral. No, but you can laugh over this. But anybody who is a frequent visitor to the UK would admit that one of the tourist sites that people would want to visit are those cathedrals around Westminster, those huge cathedrals that have historical messages attached to it. So I am a bit surprised when people create the impression that will be a place of worship where on a Sunday Reverend Murtala would wear a cassock and will be seen preaching the word of God. No, that's not the essence of infrastructure.
Especially when people talk about these, you must look at context. You remember when a few years ago the Notre Dame Cathedral in France, it caught fire and all of that. You would notice what went into that, but this goes centuries back.
Yes.
In fact, there's context to it about why it is vital to them. These are historic. Some of them 3, 4, 5 centuries ago. They've maintained them because they also double as touristic sites.
Yes.
And they have a certain already, flow of people there. They have regular income that they generate from those facilities. And so even when you would see some of the richest men in the world, the billionaires from France, contributing, it was because it served a specific purpose. Same as you would find in Washington, D.C., in the United States and in other countries. There's a historical context to it. But you would also admit that these countries put up these structures on the back of basically having developed. Okay? I don't think anyone can, contradict that. These countries had reached a certain peak level of development, and they said, okay, National Cathedral, this and that, and was also in a religious context. So what is our context?
So you are saying that?
No, I'm asking, what is our context?
Centuries ago, these economies that you talk about, these countries that you talk about, were developed.
I'm saying that their level of development was appreciable.
I'm sure
people were not struggling with bread and butter matters. Let me just do this. I am just doing the calculation. You're looking at, let's say, 350 million plus the purported 100 million that we're going to spend compensating people for land structures that were removed. Let's say 450 million. If you multiply that by the current exchange rate as of yesterday, over 8 cedis to the dollar, you're looking at 3.6 billion. How much are we hoping to get from the e-levy? Do you get it? So when you make the comparisons, when we're struggling as a country to tax people to pay an e-levy because we are in tough financial times, and yet we're able to expend such a sum, like you're saying, we should pay for all of it for a national cathedral. Does that wash with you?
I think that you need to also appreciate how tourism have contributed to the GDP of other countries. I mean, today if you were to visit Tanzania, you would appreciate that the country is benefiting a lot from tourism. So I'm saying that if today you admit that if you are to go to France, the cathedral that you talk about is giving them a lot of investment, sort of. I mean, that people who visit there pay some monies which contribute to the GDP of the country. Then it is important for us to also do same. So let's see this as an investment. I mean, 20, 30 years to come, people will be telling stories about the National Cathedral. That is how it started in those countries. That is how it started. So, I mean, if we have seen the importance, we've seen the drive that people are benefiting from such cathedrals in the UK. When you go to Washington, you see a big cathedral that people enter each day and pay money just to appreciate the architecture and everything that you see there. Why can't we do the same in our country?
So, OPK, you're telling me that you're in a country where your minimum wage is one of the lowest.
No, I'm saying that.
No, hold on.
I'm saying that.
No, we're doing logical reasoning here about how much we're pumping into this.
Yes.
Your minimum wage is one of the lowest
Yes.
on the continent.
Yes.
You have one of the highest prices. In fact, from the last checks, probably the highest price when it comes to the per litre value of fuel. And your minimum wage, mind you, is just about what you're paying for a litre of fuel. You're looking at inflation, 27.6%, the highest on the continent. Take away some of these other countries, Zimbabwe and the rest, they're escalating. And you still feel in the midst of all of this, it is the best decision to make to pump $450 million into a national cathedral.
You see, let's not
where you are not even sure of the numbers that will come in.
Let's not create the impression that the country wakes and sleeps National Cathedral. I mean, there are many programs of government that are running. Talk about the free SHS program, the Planting for Food and Jobs program, the One District, One Factory. Today, government is investing in improving our various storage sites and all of that. The government, the business of government is running.
Right.
So let's see the National Cathedral as one form of investment that we are making in the tourism industry. That will be of immense benefit to the future. Of
all the things we could have done in tourism, and sometimes my heart bleeds, of all the things we could have done, I mean, from the centers up north alone, there are, I can count on my fingers, about 20 touristic sites that we could revamp and really make money out of. There's the rock shaped like Africa. There's which is being done. There's where Nkrumah used to, lodge back in the day in his time. I've forgotten. I think it's the Upper East or one of those. I always have to check that. And others that we could really work out and make tons of cash. In other jurisdictions, they would do that. Where Komfo Anoche's sword supposedly was placed, we could milk. I mean, there are so many of them. And the National Cathedral is the one we want to focus on. Well,
it's one of the priorities of government, and for me, I mean, that is why government are voted for. We are not there to as it were, implement or put up decisions that will always look nice in the eyes of Ghanaians. I mean, we need to take the tough decisions and look at the future, the returns on some of these investments that we are making now. I am telling you, just like you have admitted, in the next 10, 20, 30 years to come, this National Cathedral will be of immense benefit to our country.
All right, let's hold it right there. I hope you're aware, though, the leadership of the National Cathedral, the board of directors, some of them have come out with this. I remember reading in the Custodian back then that in a matter of 5 years after the cathedral is complete, they are hoping to rake in about $95.5 million in terms of the visitors and all of that over 5 years. But what is your reaction on the latest developments when it comes to the National Cathedral? They're going full steam ahead, whether talk of this person is on the board or has exited the board, whether some artists were paid money or were not paid money. We're going full steam ahead with the National Cathedral.
Good morning.
Good morning to you too.
Good morning to my honorable friend, and good morning to your cherished viewers. If you permit me, just 30 seconds.
Please speak up a bit.
Yes, I say if you permit me, just 30 seconds. I've been organizing free extra classes for BEC students. We do them in 4 centers. This year, we've added a 5th center, and I just want to use the opportunity to inform the people who live around Gombeni. Gombeni, yes. There's a center now, Salafia. So just that they are aware that we've increased the centers now to 5. By the way, we don't experience rains in January. Do we? Do you experience rains in January?
What are you driving at?
We swear in presidents in January.
I'm saying
so.
The
idea, can I finish? The idea of rains.
But technically, there could be rain on any day.
I say we don't.
It doesn't have to be in the rainy season.
It won't happen.
Wow.
January, we experience rains.
Are you a meteorologist now?
I don't need to be a meteorologist. For those centuries, have you ever experienced rains in January? Now he's using rains.
Are you saying it never rains in
January? It wouldn't happen. Maybe perhaps not in our lifetime. And he's using a building of cathedral, using rains as a justification. Now, you see, they are moving from the essence of it now to tourism. And he's telling us that sometimes governments need to do that. They need to do that because they don't need to take decisions that are pleasing in the eyes of the Ghanaian people. They can take decisions that are not pleasing to the people of this country. That is autocracy. That is not democracy. No democratic leader has the right to do anything that the people generally disagrees with. He is not there managing his family property or resources. He is managing our resources, our taxes. He is just there in trust for and the people of this country. It's shocking that he sits here and he thinks it's normal that you can build a house of God on the back of lies. Now your station carried it. The gentleman who purportedly was paid, was it $50,000? The musician.
I would rather not mention his name.
Well, he himself said he was. In fact, they didn't.
Okay, well, he's responded on social media.
They didn't they didn't even give them seats. So who? Yes,
but there's no.
Who gave him that money?
I've not seen any. I've not seen any documentation that
nobody has
confirms that
money.
Anyone was paid.
Will you tell him
from the local artist
will you
to
tell
somebody
him to allow me to make my point?
Why you lie on this?
Davis, please allow him because. So let me just give you fair warning. I'm sure you know that your friend can heckle quite a lot. So let's not get him into that mood.
Exactly. So please, in the first place, nobody is against the building of cathedral.
That's good.
Nobody. But we are against the building of cathedral with state resources at a time when we are struggling. Now, how could a person's personal pledge he makes with his creator becomes a burden on the people of this country? And he started by saying that our friends, my honorable friend, it is not NDC that is the only group of people who are against it. You just mentioned the name here. That gentleman has never been associated with NDC. Is that not it? In fact, if you want to associate him with any political party, you associate him with MPP. He's been very critical of the NDC. For the 8 years NDC was in power, he was very critical of the NDC. So it is not an NDC thing. One thing I have realized by our friends is that anytime they want to find a leeway to escape from the mess they have created, they use NDC and they use propaganda. The NDC is just like many other people who are against it. Now he says that it is the state must take that responsibility. How can the president who claimed that he made a solemn pledge with his creator, it never found space even in the MPP's manifesto in the 2016-2020 elections. It never found space. Neither did it find space in the budget. In the first place, you lied to the people of this country that it was captured in the budget. Kirsty, the deputy minister for finance, on your station. When Evans called him, he said that it was captured in the 2018 budget. And then when you read the budget, there is no mention of any amount of money given for this. And his explanation was that once we stated that in the 2018 budget, and by extension, if we didn't have money in 2018 and we have now gotten money in 2022, we can give that. Who does that anywhere in the world? Look, if you have a cathedral here, cathedral here, it will not attract anybody. Christians will go to Jerusalem, just like Muslims will go to Mecca. We have an outstanding mosque built here. How many Muslims, even within our sub-region, will come here? They won't come. And I was happy you made reference to the fact that those cathedrals he's talking about, they have history behind them. The core, the foundation of Christianity, to a very large extent, and how Christianity spread globally, anchored on some of these cathedrals or churches.
But some would also tell you that in reference to the national mosque,
yes,
maybe we've not done enough in terms of making it a touristic site, because even the plan of it mimics a similar site in Turkey, a similar mosque. So it was the same plan that was used, and we could milk that. We are not. Secondly, when you talk about the history behind it, others would also ask you, they had to build, the United States, France, and other countries with national cathedrals, they built them at a point, didn't they? So you must build them And over the years, over the centuries,
at the time when they built them, their pregnant women were lying on the ground in their hospitals. At the time when they built them, fuel prices were escalating. At the time when they built them, people could not even get 3 square meals. At the time when they built them, the economies were in shambles. Is that not the case? Our priorities, we are not getting them right. I have just told you, why is it that with all the biggest cathedrals we already have in this country, we don't have Christians visiting Ghana? With all the big mosques we have in Ghana, including this one, we don't have Muslims coming to visit it. Why is it that people will pay thousands of dollars to go to Mecca? Because of the history behind the mosques in Mecca or the mosques.
But that's exactly what the National Cathedral is trying to do. That they're going to build a garden with all the trees in Israel and in Jerusalem and all of that. They have a stone from Israel that has been brought in. I mean, there are so many things that will make this
who are they mocking?
More attractive.
Who are they mocking? I guess now they are now mocking God. I'm saying that people travel to Israel, to Jerusalem, to other places, to Rome, because please, allow me to make my point. People will be very angry at you this morning, and I want to apologize on behalf of my brother.
But I have an interesting question for you, OPK. Very quickly. No. It's just a quick one. You see, the way you say people should be able to travel to Ghana, I'm asking though, those who know that these trees and all are from Israel, Jerusalem to be specific, and the stone, and they can go to the Garden of Gethsemane, so to speak, and all of these sites. Why would they not go to Israel instead and come to Ghana for saying?
You see,
just a bit of a diversion.
It's just like asking why wouldn't people visit the UK to see their castles, but rather would want to come to Cape Coast and do the same. I mean,
no, but
I'm coming.
This is like comparing apples and oranges. We have history behind our castles. Yes. They have history behind theirs.
Let me. I'm saying that once you have the National Cathedral, I mean, it adds up to you.
I wouldn't allow this.
It adds up to you.
It was important because of what he had chipped in.
I'm done. What?
No, he's not done. I just wanted you to chip in that.
Once you have a National Cathedral, it adds up to your tourism circuit. So that if somebody visits Accra and would want to visit our tourist
but OPK, I'm asking a specific question.
Yeah, I'm saying that
we're importing all of these from Israel, so to speak. The stones, the trees, and all of that.
If you look
I'm just saying that if people can get same in Israel, which is bigger on this scene in the same context, why would they come to Ghana?
But if you look at the architecture, there are stuff that are more Ghanaian. I mean, than importing these things there. So somebody would want to visit the cathedral because there's something Ghana.
I mean, all right, point made.
Yes.
So I'm just saying that even with the monuments, edifices, we have religious monuments in this country, people don't even visit. In fact, we have bigger churches in our neighboring countries than we have here. Why is it that nobody visits there? It is the very
huge Catholic cathedrals in Tamale and
other places. The biggest. In fact, the biggest in Ghana.
Yes, is in Tamale.
Even within Ghana, how many people even come to Tamale to visit it?
You have not
so this excuse, please, don't do this. So this excuse of that we are doing it for tourism, even your tourism industry, go and check the 2022 budget. What was the budget line for tourism? You have Ministry of Fisheries. For some strange reasons, anywhere Honorable Hao Kumsinu goes, her budget is one of the biggest. You have Ministry of Fisheries, which budget is even bigger than Ministry of Education and Health. Ministry of, when she was a special initiative, bigger than Education and Health. Someone should tell us why. So I'm saying that you cannot do that. That is one. Two, the other aspect is that you've been lying to the people of this country.
How?
Good. You indicated that it was going to be done by the provision of land and support to establish the seed capital. Was that not what they told us? Now you have criminally and illegally removed state monies in payment of architecture even before the commencement of the architectural design. $23 million. That is what you have done. It took the Okujeto you want to bastardize to be able to identify in others that this is what you did. As a matter of fact, the Finance Committee, I have spoken with members of the Finance Committee, not on the side of NDC, but on the side of MPP, who said they have never cited any document of that, instructing that government remove $23 million to pay to someone. They have never seen that. Now, even if you run your business...
But we've spoken, we've interacted with, architects, the head of architects in Ghana, the association, and others, and they say that, yes, maybe not bulk payments made at once, but once the architect starts work, there's a pre and a post phase. and that payments are made as
so
the architect.
Why bring the maybe? Why bring the maybe? We are not talking about conjecture here. We are talking about something that happened. In any case, did anybody sanction it? Was it approved by Parliament? Was it approved?
I mean, that you can say that there was no approval from Parliament.
You say that you can say. You are belittling it.
I am not.
It's criminal. Let's call a spade a spade. It's criminal to do that. Now you are building a house of God on the backs of criminality. Is it acceptable? You are building the house of God. You think Jesus will be happy with you? That you want to build a house to glorify him, and you are using lies, criminality, deceit to do that. You think he'll be happy with you? I am saying that Parliament never approved it. Nobody knew of it. And President Nana Addo runs this country like a king. He decides what he does at any point in time. That is illegal. It never found space in our budget. We never approved it. Assuming that people didn't get to know, what would have been the state of it? That gentleman, the architect, in 2006 came to this country with the anticipation of Nana Addo winning the elections in 2008, set up an office. When the MPP lost the elections and Nana Addo failed to become the president, he closed the office and left this country.
We do not have those details.
I'm saying that he closed the office, go and investigate it. He closed the office and left this country. And then returned when Nana Addo became the president, just so they can milk this nation. Is that what we are looking for? Your station, multimedia, Joy FM, you reported that the Minister of Works and Housing, or is it Water Resources or Works and Housing at the time, presented a cabinet, proposal to government that they needed 800 million Ghana cedis to solve the perennial flooding we have in this country. This morning, your station carried a story how people were stranded in Takoradi. Since 2017, this government said they did not have the money to give them. Yet, they could dole out money criminally, $23 million for an architectural design. If they had provided the 800 million to that person, would we be having the problems we have? As a result of the flood, lives have been lost. And many lives are yet lost if we do not find a solution to this problem. Yet this same government sees it normal. We won't give you the money. Another minister, the work that is done by the technical people, we need this amount of money. The government says we don't have the money. Yet they have money to dole out $23 million and extra money for someone.
So that was sole sourced. Payment was made to Sir David Ajay and Associates. But the executive director, Dr. Paul Opoku Mensah, has been speaking on this matter recently. And he says we're scrutinizing this too much. It's unnecessary because we're creating unnecessary tension with the allegations on the project. And that there is nothing fishy with the project. So what is the problem?
Did Parliament approve it? What nonsense. He should give us a break. What is he talking about? Is it their family property?
No, please.
Is it their family property?
Oh, please.
No, is it their family property?
You allow him to use the word number.
Ejapamesa said that.
What is he talking about?
Touch wood. The president,
what is he talking about?
When he leaves office, he's not, that's what Ejapamesa said, he's not going to will the National Cathedral to his children.
I am saying that you don't have the right to do anything in violation of the Constitution. We have chosen as a people to govern this country through democracy. We decided in 1992 that never should we be governed by the gun. And if you agree to charter the path of democracy, it comes with conditions. That democracy tells you that you must do everything in accordance with law. That everything must be sanctioned by rules and regulations, regulating the conduct of everybody, including the president. Now, if the Constitution says that for you to do this, you must have parliamentary approval. You didn't seek parliamentary approval. You did that. People are asking, and then you tell us that we are talking too much. Aren't you insulting us?
Well,
the people I represent.
Let's relax. I mean, are we at war? Murtala, are we at war?
The people I represent. The people
are we at war?
Feel insulted. The people I represent, the thousands of people, the old people, the women I represent for internal.
Well, I know how populist sometimes you want to be. Murtala at his best. And that's what speaking. But I tell you, you don't use nonsense. You don't use nonsense.
It's absolute nonsense. To tell us that we are talking too much.
We're on live television.
That, yes, my constituency will be very happy that you have in my constituency internally.
Yes.
People are struggling at the hospitals.
Yes.
The central hospital, the old, they don't even have water.
Yes.
It is the responsibility of the state.
Now, you haven't done this. You have taken monies illegally, criminally, something that is not approved by their representatives. It is not approved by myself and you. Right. Then someone tells us that we are talking too much. Give
me yourself some pause.
You think I'm going to have
30 seconds. Do you have a reaction? 30 seconds.
I do.
30 seconds.
This plenty talk will not help him.
Well, it will. It has helped.
I mean, we are on national television discussing issues of national importance.
Yes.
When Rawlings was building the National Theatre, weren't people sleeping on the floor in Kolebu? I'm asking him.
But was there this kind of furore?
Because we saw the importance of a national theatre.
Were people this?
I'll answer.
I'm saying
fiercely, against the project.
But who is against it? It is the NDC. It's Murtala and their likes. And today he's saying that we have not approved it. When you look at
anyone who is against the project,
when you look at the budget,
let's do this analogy.
Let me just answer.
Hold on. You're basically insinuating that anyone who is against the project is NDC, and anyone who is for the project is NDC.
I'm saying that.
What you're saying?
I'm saying that this whole anti-national cathedral drive is being championed by the NDC.
How?
So ordinary Ghanaians can't share their opinion.
They can. They should.
So NDC people are not Ghanaians.
They should. Same way Ghanaians shared their opinion when Rawlings was building the National Theatre.
Did he do that without the approval of Parliament?
I am saying that.
Without the approval of the people representatives.
Well,
that is the issue. We are telling you that you can't do this. This is what the Constitution says.
Let OPK wrap up.
Is Murtala telling me that National Cathedral has never appeared in the budget before?
That what?
The budget statements that...
Did you get approvals for the spending when it comes to Certificate J and Associates? But in terms of some of the spending...
That is why in the budget, you always have something we call contingency.
So it's... God.
That is why you always have something we call contingency.
So it's contingency
and that
now.
Government has that right to use... So far as they do not go above the allocated contingency budget.
It's misleading your viewing public.
So far as they do not go above it, government is within its right to spend. So if they think that,
right.
Yes, I'm telling you.
Hold on.
Once it is contained in the budget statement of Parliament, presented to Parliament, it means that we have approved
that. That
is not true. Murtala, 30 seconds.
That is absolutely not true. I can understand why he's just the first time in Parliament.
No, this is.
But I think
my honourable friend.
Don't use that word.
I'm sorry.
I don't use that. You are getting above that. I won't tolerate this.
I am sorry.
I won't tolerate that.
Are you happy now?
Stop this.
He's apologizing.
You're on national television.
Are you happy now?
It's the first timer. Aren't you a first timer yourself?
No.
Aren't you a first timer?
I ate, vomited, and then I
No, please.
Again. So I'm saying that if we take the budget, everything must have a budget line. A statement that is made in the financial statement, in the budget, if it is going to be executed, it must come with a budget. Running a government is not like selling Kili Willy on the street. That because we have it in the budget and therefore we can take money, and he's justifying it with contingency. What do you mean by contingency? Go and look at the appendixes. There was nothing mentioned. And in any case, this statement was mentioned in the 2018 financial statement. And I remember when Evans interviewed the Deputy Minister for Finance, he came with the same argument that they had it in the 2018 financial statement. And Evans wanted to know whether it was captured in the 2022 budget. How can you just do this? You are taking money and you tell me that because we mentioned in the 2018
point made on that. Now,
I'm saying that the people of this country,
right,
we represent the people.
Right.
They have a moral duty to account to us. And by the way, the aspects of democratic governance is transparency and accountability.
Right.
What Honorable Okujeto and many other people are demanding, we are demanding accountability and transparency.
Right.
You cannot be illegally taking money and expect us to shut up.
Point made,
we won't shut up.
Murtala. But in the midst of all of this, Ghana, we also have to battle with our CD, our currency, which is flip-flopping, pendulating, so to speak. If you've seen the latest figures, the pound is almost at 10 cedis, the euro and the dollar are over 8 cedis. But here's the interesting bit. Steve Hank, and most of you would know him, Professor Steve Hank of the Johns Hopkins University, has come out. You can go to Twitter and check that out. But Ghana is in 17th place, and I'm quoting him here, in this week's Hank's currency watch list. By my calculations, the Ghanaian CD has depreciated by 28.17% against the US dollar since January 2020. And he says the Ghanaian CD is a central bank junk currency. Now, look at the currencies we are rubbing shoulders with, though on different percentage levels. The Venezuelan Bolivar, or Bolivar as you would say it, but in Spanish, minus 99.09%. The Syrian pound, the Turkish lira, the Argentinian peso, the Sri Lankan rupee and the Pakistani rupee. What is your quick reaction to that, OPK?
Well,
and I want this to be brief, 2 minutes each, and then we move on.
You see, we need to appreciate that we are not in normal times. These are difficult moments if you're a Ghanaian. And largely we should appreciate where these things are coming from. Today, and I heard President Biden make claims to the fact that during the pandemic, most of the big shipping lines came together, they formed alliance and increased their pricing by some 1,000%. And that is largely affecting our imports and everything. Today, anybody who imports to our country will tell you that it's not been easy. Recently, my mother bought a vehicle and we had to pay for duty. And a car that you would think that you should be paying around 20,000. Today you are paying around 50,000. So certainly we are not in normal times. And the issues that surround us globally is affecting our currency. Talk about the pandemic. COVID brought its own challenges. Today, Russia, Ukraine, and we've seen the effect of it. Most of the iron ore that we are importing to our country come from Russia and Ukraine. Most of this flour that we use in our bakery also come from Russia and Ukraine. So there's a lot of challenges that surround us. But I think that in the midst of these difficulties, we must commend government for the management of our currency and also, commend central government. Yesterday I listened to one economist tell me that but for some prudent measures that government put in place. Now, the government is even sort of hoarding and not releasing dollar into the system. If they had done that, by now we should be buying a dollar to 10 cedis or 11 cedis. So yes, I admit we are in difficult moments, and I think that it's important for us to continually give the needed support to government to ensure that it is not only happening in Ghana, it is happening everywhere. We talk about fuel shortage, go to Nigeria today, and you see gallons spring up. You have gallons spread across filling stations and everywhere. We are in challenging times. Countries are facing it. And it's important that we begin to tell Ghanaians to brace themselves up for these challenging moments. And for me, this is a time that we do not need to be partisan. This is a time for us to come together as a people and support government and the drive to restore some dignity to the city, to restore some hope to Ghanaians, and see how best we are able to manage in these challenging times so that things do not get out of hands. I know we'll surely get there, and with the help of government, with the help of God, with the help of every Ghanaian, we are gradually getting to that point. But yes, I admit things are tough. The CD yesterday, I had $1 and I wanted to change, and I was surprised that I was told that dollar to a CD is around 8 CDs now.
8.6 this morning.
8.6 CDs. Well, it's amazing, but that's what I would say.
I like
your quick reaction.
It's amazing, Master. It is politics, and it should be politics. Don't tell us that we shouldn't do politics with this. It is politics.
You want to do politics?
No, it is politics. Every democracy, we have chosen to do democracy. You must have varied views and opinions. Yet, you are doling out money to build a cathedral in stiffer opposition to it. You are justifying the same point we made here. That even if you need to do something, not under this prevailing excruciating economic...
8.6?
Hold on, yeah, 8.6, about 8.6.
It's 8.0. Yesterday was 8.04.
7.98.
When you go on, check the Bank of Ghana rates, not the
ones. When you go to Gawagao, it's even more than that. You get it at 9 cities. Master, it has to do with the mismanagement of the economy.
No, but I hear what you're saying. When the last time we interacted with Duncan Amwa, the bulk oil distribution companies, and the rates at which they were getting it, apart from the pool they are getting, which is about 25% of what they need from the central bank, when they go on the general market, they are getting it for about 9 cedis. So that is the reality. It is the reality.
You see, there's a proverb in the Bani, and with all apologies to your viewers.
You're back to your proverbs.
Yes, I took it from my senior brother. If you've said, with all apologies to your viewing public, those of them who are taking their breakfast.
Oh, let's not do that one again.
You cannot sleep with an itching anus, and you do not expect to wake up with smelling fingers. The problems we are facing today is as a result of the inept, the incompetence in this country. When the NDC invited everybody to Senchi, the MPP said they were not going and issued a fatwa, a warning to their members. That time, we were not Ghanaians. I guess we were not.
All right.
So I'm saying that the reason why we have the challenges we have is as a result of the incompetence. In any case, they hardly go to mention COVID. Ben, tell me, which of our neighbors went to the IMF for $3 billion loan in the name of COVID? Which of our neighbors went to the World Bank for $450 million loan in the name of our COVID? Which of our neighbors dipped their hands into their central bank for 20 billion? Which of our neighbors got 86 million euro from the European Union? You dip your hands into all manner, infrastructure development fund, stabilization fund. And to what end? When we even demand accountability, someone will tell us that we are talking too much. And when I say it's nonsense, you tell me that I shouldn't use that word. When we demand accountability, we demand to know how those monies are expended on things that we did not even approve anyway. Someone is telling us that we are talking too much. And the mess we have today is created by the mess created by this government. And to be very honest, this Minister for Finance is still the minister because he uses Oforiata. I am telling you, if he wasn't a family relation of this president, he would have fired him.
So let's talk about that accountability. We'll be putting on your screens shortly what we have for you this morning concerning funding sources for our national budgets and how we've managed. We know in this country, time and again, budget after budget, we have to fall on external entities, countries, organizations to fund our budgets. We'll put that on the screen shortly as we commence the next belt of the conversation, because then we're talking about the very accountability that you've started getting into. And if you look at what I have here, which we'll be putting on your screens shortly, in terms of funding sources for our 2020 budget, it's on your screen now, following the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. You would notice that we got from the IMF 5.85 billion. All of these sums in Ghana cedis. From the World Bank, 1.33 billion. The European Union gave us 504 million. The ADB, 405 plus million. The Bank of Ghana, 10 billion Ghana cedis. And then you look at the Government of Ghana Contingency Fund, which also added 1.2 billion to that kitty. The total, 19.30 billion Ghana cedis. Others have said when you add other sources, it's as high as 33 billion. But let's stick to this. And the next one will talk to us about funding sources for the 2021 budget following the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. More money pouring in. Again, look at the source of funding. Government of Ghana, 4.51 billion. The World Bank gave us 1.15 billion. Then Korea, 349 million. And Germany, 280.99 million. So some statistics for those of you
the Korean
watching.
And the German one.
Pardon me?
I said the Korean and the German one are all loans, right?
We can go into the details of the facilities,
if you add the two,
they definitely buttress the budget. So as for the differences, whether they are loans or whatever other grants or whatever, we can get the details on that. So this is how we funded our budgets. This is how we funded our budgets in 2020 and 2021. And this is why some of you are asking for accountability from the Finance Minister, Ken Oforiatta. Now, on the back of that, we've not got a full-blown analysis of the nitty-gritty, how much we spent on what exactly. You remember the bit to do with feeding people during the pandemic and all of that. All of that is in there. But a lot of people have been saying, but let's get to the details of the cost of the PPE we provided. How much went into that? The cost of feeding. We even added the cost of utilities that were given for free and all of that. But what is the breakdown? Justified? Is that justified? Because some of your members of parliament have said you are just hounding the finance minister, and that it's totally unnecessary.
I think that it's important for the finance minister to appear before parliament to answer questions, especially that borders on how government spend monies we got on COVID. But it looks like everything, there's an attempt to put everything on the head of the finance ministry or the finance minister. And that is a bit worrying. I mean, yes, we spend monies. In fact, during the pandemic, businesses had to be supported through the Ghana Enterprises Agencies. I mean, people got monies to support their enterprises and all of that. During the difficult moments, I mean, the periods where people were made to sit at home, government workers continued to receive their salaries. How are we funding all of this? It was through some of these sources.
1 month.
I mean, some of these sources. So for me, I mean, we should appreciate that some monies were spent. I mean, we got monies, and it's important for us to account for it. But you see, to want to play politics with this matter is a bit worrying. Knowing very well that the duty of the finance ministry is just to
disburse
these funds to various ministries and agencies. And we know in Parliament, every committee, we have ministries are allocated to committees. So for instance, the committee that I serve on, Works and Housing,
right.
I mean, we have 2 ministries that come to us to report. If those ministries got monies from the finance ministry, they need to appear before us and explain to us how they spent their money. So I'm a bit surprised.
But in the end, the finance ministry should also be concerned about, as the one dispensing the funds, about how the funds are dispensed. That it has a bit of an oversight role, doesn't it? I mean, it doesn't just lie in its purview to say, I disburse the funds and that is it.
No. So, for instance, Murtala and I serve on the Public Accounts Committee. Our role is to scrutinize the report as presented to us by the Auditor General. The Auditor General, in the constitution of this country, has a responsibility to audit the books of all public institutions. Are we now saying that Parliament wants to see that?
The problem usually is that by the time the Auditor General's report comes out, whatever infringements they were seeing or have seen have already, taken place, and if any money has been mismanaged, it's already been done, and it's usually post the fact. So that is a problem that maybe we should start addressing.
Are we now calling for the finance ministry to come and account for how these monies were disbursed or spent, or the NDC is now saying that they have seen some infractions that have gone on and that we need answers to it? I mean, what is the argument? If it's about infraction, they need to be very clear on that so that we go out there and investigate. But if it's about calling on the finance ministry to present to us how agencies spent their monies allocated to them, that for me, I think is far-fetched. Is it
not important on the back of, I mean, in the 1990s, we started famously with Rawlings, probity, accountability, and all of that, especially as a party that stands so staunchly behind the democratic bastion. Is it not important that we put some of these matters to bed? You remember the Gold Coast issue? Till today, it's a problem in the sporting arena because proper accountability was not done. Do you want this to go down in history?
No, my brother, it is so important that we account for every penny. I believe in accountability. I believe there should be transparency in how government spends its money. But like President Obama said, we need to look at building strong institutions.
Apparently, we're not building them. We seem to talk about them, but
are we saying
the institutions, are we slippages in a system where you can't account for 12 billion? That goes to waste, so to speak.
No, are we saying
it tells you just how many slippages and
are we now saying that we no longer trust the Auditor General, the Audit Service to do its work?
I don't think that is what people have said. But the CSOs and experts in the field will keep telling you that we like doing these things post the fact. Stem it before it goes on. Mitigate it. That is the whole point.
Well, for me, I mean, whether the finance minister appears before us or not, I would want the Auditor General to also do his work. Because for me, I mean, that is the institution mandated by the Constitution.
So your solution is
audit.
This whole bit about inviting the finance minister is not the solution. No, we should allow the Auditor General
It may not be the solution because, you see, For, you know, I mean, 275 members of parliament, you may or may not have people with auditing backgrounds. So that is why in the spirit of the Constitution, we have a body, an institution mandated with people with requisite skills to audit the books. So if as Parliament, we want the Auditor General to fast track the process, we can even invite the Auditor General and tell the Auditor General to fast track the process and present to Parliament so that the Public Accounts Committee can scrutinize the spending.
So the entity that manages the purse strings, the Finance Ministry,
yes,
should be allowed to sit, set aside and let the Auditor General come and do that work.
No, I've not said that. I'm saying that now, if you invite the Finance Minister to appear before Parliament, to do what? To tell you who got what?
Yeah.
Is that what you want? Yeah. So it tells you
who got what for what specific purpose.
So the Ministry of Trade was given, let's say, $1 billion out of the money, and that $1 billion went to Ghana Enterprises Agency. So now you want the Ministry of Finance to come and tell you who got what from the Ghana Enterprises Agency. That is not their job. That is not their duty. It is the duty of the Auditor General to go to Ghana Enterprises Agency to find out from them how these monies were spent. If they have receipts of that, they should be able to provide them. You understand? That's what I'm saying, that we have institutions that have the skills. They are mandated to do that. Let us allow them to do their work. If you want the Finance Minister to appear before us and tell us what you have demonstrated, what you showed on your screens, the Finance Minister will just come to Parliament and say that, yes, I got 6.29 billion. Out of the 6.29 billion, I gave this agency this, I gave this agency this, I gave...
Well, that is a starting point, isn't it?
Yeah, but you see, it is a starting point. But these are informations that will eventually be known. I mean, it will appear before
Point made.
Parliament.
Point made, OBK. What is your reaction?
Are you a lawyer?
I'm not.
I'm not a lawyer myself.
Yes.
Even though I did LLP, but I'm not a lawyer.
Well, I'm almost through with my LPC.
What is the core mandate of Parliament? Is it not to make laws?
Yes.
Then those of us who are not lawyers, we have no business in Parliament. That is the logic you are driving.
No, making laws, you don't need lawyers to make laws.
You don't need to be
audited. The 1992 Constitution was put together not by lawyers.
You don't need, that's the point. So you don't need to be an auditor to be able to appreciate where you suspect that there is wrong. You don't need to be an auditor. You and I are on Public Accounts Committee. Myself and you, we are not auditors. But don't we ask questions that are legitimate? We do. The people of this country have their representatives. They elected us to represent them. So we ask questions that they expect us to ask. I am one of the 16 members of Parliament who have filed questions for the Minister for Finance to answer. And he's been condescending, dismissive. He refused to come. They fixed another date. He never came. And before we went on recess, we came back. The ministry, through Parliament correspondence, fixed another date, which found its way in the other paper. Right. He refused to come again without any explanation. In fact, before the Speaker took the decision, we had a position. Our position was that, and through Honorable Murtala, that we're not going to entertain anything coming from the Minister of Finance until the Minister appears before Parliament to answer questions. Now, the Speaker had to call the leadership into conclave. Before he made that,
there was unanimity there.
Exactly.
At least for the first time, the two of you
so it means that everybody agrees that the man is disrespecting Parliament. If Ken is a lord in this government, he's not a lord to Parliament. He's not a lord to the people of this country. Look, my question, and I can put it out there.
And I was just about to ask you, what questions will you be posing to?
My question is that
he's showing up today in Parliament.
Yes, he has to. He has to. It took threat of the Speaker for him to come. Because the Speaker said, look, if you refuse to come, we're not going to entertain anything coming from the Minister of Finance. As we see today, there is a loan he wants us to approve, $1 billion loan. When they told us that they were not going to contract any loans again, I want to know how much we have generated as a state through the sales of power to our neighbors. That's what I want to know.
Through the sale of power to our neighbors.
Because this government celebrated it, that we now sell power to our neighbors. Meanwhile, you chastise the NDC government and President Mahama for hugely investing to expand our capacity. And repeatedly, they have said that we have
generated more capacity than we need. If we never generated more than we need, could we be selling the power to our neighbors? So I want to know, the people of Tamale Center want to know how much we have generated as a result of the sale of the power to our neighbors since 2017. Mind you, even in 2016, we started selling the power. So we want to know, isn't this a legitimate question?
It is.
It is a legitimate good. So when you say that people are asking the minister disburse the monies through the ministry.
But he was speaking more of COVID-19 related.
So I'm just making, I'm responding to my specific
So let's get
question.
to COVID.
You went to the IMF to borrow $3 billion in our name. President Nanado is getting to 80 years. That loan will be paid. We pray that he has long life. But if age is something to go by, maybe perhaps we and our children are those who will be paying the loans. $3 billion from the IMF. $450 million from the World Bank. When initially they told us that, oh, they borrowed $100 million. It took the World Bank country director to expose them. Then you borrowed $450 million. All those monies you have borrowed. And you told us that you are giving us water free. You remember the water was not even given to everybody. In fact, the lice was given to some consumers.
Those who are consuming, if I remember, 20 cedis and below.
And it was never free. They should stop using the word free. Because if you give me and you claim that it was free, and now I am being asked to pay for that thing, you can no longer be using the word free. And that for me, that was the lowest ebb of our democracy, that a president will look straight into our face and peddle falsehood. They knew at that time that the water they were given and the electricity were not free. They knew we were going to pay for it. Your former employee at Multimedia, down the Minister for Information, what did he tell us? Among others, the manners no longer fall from heaven. That did we expect that we're going to have those things free? Now, don't you think that it is legitimate for us to know that the COVID levy that we have paid, haven't we paid enough of the electricity and water they gave to particular consumers? It is even unfair. There were some people who never...
still reflecting on whatever we purchased.
And aside that, there were some people who never benefited from the electricity, depending on your consumption level. Now, they are all being made to pay. Now, we need to know, how much have you generated as a result of the COVID levy? And if you have generated that much, assuming that we have paid more than what they used to give us in the name of free electricity and water, will it be fair for them to continue taking those monies again? These are legitimate questions. Now, that money, and let me conclude on this. Everything they tell us that, oh, government did this, government did this. As a matter of fact, the other countries who didn't borrow a scintilla, in fact, one third of what we have borrowed, some of them provided free electricity, free water, and in fact paid rents. Senegal paid rents for their citizens. Yet the economy is not in shambles as ours. Yet they haven't asked the people to pay for the monies they borrowed for the purposes of COVID.
Senegal, though, to point out, is one of the most expensive places in Africa currently. I think in terms of rent, it's one of the most. So maybe they may have their own ways of generating these funds.
Whoever tells you that rent Senegal is the highest is not telling you the truth.
No, I'm saying that generally the cost of living in a place like Dakar,
I've been to Senegal.
It's one of the most expensive.
I'll tell him one thing.
Have you rented in Senegal before?
Let me answer. I'll tell you one. I traveled to Senegal. And I have been to Senegal a couple of times. They don't take 2 years rent allowance that we take here. If you take beyond 3 months, they will jail you.
Okay, so point made. You've raised some relevant questions that you have for the
We want to know, why is it that we have borrowed more than our neighbors?
Right.
Yet our economy is as shambolic as the...
Okay, point made, Murtala. Okay, are these valid questions that you feel the finance minister should answer?
They are. I mean, that is why we are parliamentarians. It's important for the finance ministry to appear before us and answer these questions. And you see, Murtala will admit that the finance minister has always been in parliament. I mean,
no.
If for one or two reasons he's unable to appear,
he has not always been in parliament. Don't put it out there.
I think the point is made that he's been absent a few times when
parliament requested. Let's not create the impression that. But let's not create the impression this is the first time ministers.
Davis, go ahead.
Ministers are failing to appear before parliament. I mean, on time. There's a need for him to appear before parliament and answer questions. I mean, that is why we are there as parliamentarians. We ask questions for and on behalf of Ghanaians. And I simply would not think that the finance minister will be running away from that responsibility. No.
He's been disrespecting.
So, please, it is not true. So, hopefully today We are expecting him to appear before us to answer these questions.
All right. How do you feel as well, just broadening it? Because the Speaker also talks about the fact that ministers shouldn't get it twisted. That when Parliament invites you, you must show up and answer the legitimate questions.
I agree with the Speaker.
I mean, it's not just Ken Ofori-Atta, the Finance Minister. We've had the Roads Minister.
In fact, transport, I had a question.
We've had a number of them invited to Parliament and failed to show up. Do you feel this latest posturing of both the majority and the minority and the Speaker should end this matter so that when a minister, I mean, unless you are on official duty outside of the country or something of the sort, or
but
health impedes you, you should appear.
Even when the president is on official duty outside the country, he communicates to Parliament.
Right.
So if you're a minister of state, the Constitution says that appear before Parliament to answer questions, and you fail to do that, then nothing of yours should appear before us. And I like that posture. I mean, we must respect Parliament as an institution. I mean, we have an oversight responsibility over the executives, and we should be allowed to do our work. So for me, I think that probably, maybe the leadership of Parliament should write to the president and I mean, try and lodge some. I mean, some. I mean, but I'm saying if you're a minister, you should be prepared to appear before Parliament to answer questions. You cannot run away from that responsibility. If you fail to do that, we will not do any business of yours. And I mean, we are not going to.
And that is legitimate.
Yesterday, I had a question.
Just wrap on.
I had a question for the minister.
I have a final issue.
I had a question for the Minister of Transport. And this is about the third time that it has found space in the other paper. The time he was supposed to come, he didn't come.
You know, as for the Minister of Transport,
you even allow
I'm coming. As for the minister,
you see,
I mean,
I'll permit this intervention.
He nearly cried when I interjected.
You go ahead. With respect to the Minister of Transport, I mean, there's been times where even when he has no business in the house, he would come and sit in the
because he's a member of Parliament.
So let's admit. I mean,
don't give him that. He's a member of Parliament. He has to come to Parliament. So don't tell me that even if he has no business to do, he comes to Parliament. But let me take my answer. Let me make my point. You see, that question I wanted to. I felt yesterday was the third time.
You claim the Minister of Transport is a member of Parliament?
Is he not a member of Parliament?
He is not.
It's his deputy, sorry,
yes,
who is a member of Parliament. I said, I have filed this question. Yesterday was the third time it appeared. And in all these instances, the first one he gave excuse. And I understood. He even spoke with me. Said, Murtala, for ABC, they will not be able to come. This one, he failed to communicate to Parliament. My question was simple. I want to know how the contract was entered into between Government of Ghana and Frontier Health. And I want to know why they were charging $150 per person. Yet Ghana Airport Company was given $2. Paul Adumachiri, if you are listening.
This thing has
hold on, please. I just want to know. The people of Tamale Center asked me to ask him, why is it that we are paying they were charging $150, yet Ghana Airport Company was given $2 on every $150. I also wanted to know the contract they entered into between Ghana Airport Company and the Nigerian bank. And I also want to know why they had to open an offshore account and were flying the money outside this country. You think that if those over $300 million from my source that they generated as a result of the test at the airport were to remain in Ghana, our city would have had some capacity. And by the way, the reason why we are having these challenges is the mismanagement. Look, the value of your domestic currency against other foreign currency is a simple law of demand and supply. And let me give you this information. As a former Deputy Minister for Trade, before we left office, we were spending about $450 million to $500 million importing rice into this country. And we took it from the MPP around $500 to $600 million. Because of the policy intervention, that is why by 2014, we had increased local rice production in this country, domestic rice production by 40%, and reduced the importation into this country by 60%. When you came, the ban on small rice importers, you took away that ban. We are now spending over almost $2 billion importing rice and other food products into this country. Why wouldn't your city suffer? So the suffering of this city has got nothing to do with Ukraine and Russia. It has to do with the mismanagement.
Just a quick one. We can dwell on this all day. I suggest that we...
But you see, if Murtala Murtala says that $2 was paid to Ghana Airport.
That's how much they pay.
And you admit that that money was for the rental of the space.
I'm saying that you charge 150.
But to say that $2 was paid to Ghana, and rightly so. So it was for the space.
So the private entity takes everything.
No, please.
The respective.
I'm saying that how much they pay to Ghana.
When the ministers show up, they will answer those.
Exactly.
But I just want to find out: is any of you concerned about? Especially as we're constructing roads. We are in another year of roads, yes, and there are struggles with the economy. Is any of you concerned about the tolls, whether they will return? We had a toll booth tales recently, where some people who used to work at the toll booths are also saying, look, we're out of work and all of that. Would you look forward to a return of the tolls?
We should.
We're raking in over 200,000 CDs
I'm looking at electronic tolling. I mean, I've always had concerns with the delays, the traffic around the toll booth. If we are to introduce electronic toll system, I think it's going to help.
So you think the tolls should come
It largely depends on government.
But electronic would cut out those who were, it would cut them out.
Those who
were collecting the tolls, because that was work.
I mean, you need people to sit behind computers to be able to manage and monitor and all of that. So
you are for the tolls coming back?
Yes, I'm for
how about you? Very briefly on this.
Someone should be prosecuted one day for causing financial loss to the state.
Who?
The Minister for Roads is a perfect candidate.
Why?
But, good. You had the Minister for Finance who appeared before Parliament and told us that they were going to do ABCD pending the approval of the budget.
Right.
Once again, disrespect to the people of this country. Before even we started considering them, the minister went ahead, declared that. Nothing happens. And this same minister is still at post.
What illegality has he committed?
He had no right.
It's not true.
It is only Parliament that has the capacity to impose taxes.
But what had been discussed at the time, it wasn't going to be. I mean, I was taken aback. I was surprised because.
No, I agree with
by
you.
the next day, the tolls were.
I'm saying that could be a cabinet decision.
I'm saying it is only
the executive is mandated to.
You say it could be. You see, was it?
You see,
well, I don't sit in cabinet. So
he repeatedly used this word. The executive is mandated. In fact, in a democracy, the three arms of government, as propounded by the likes of Montesquieu, John Locke, and co., they are supposed to have individual and equal powers. And the reason for separation of powers is to make it such that they check on each other.
We don't collect.
Hold on. If it is a carte blanche, if it is a carte blanche, then the president must go ahead. You see, in the realm of affairs and the way the president and this government look at it, they govern this country like a king. The Constitution mandates him. The practice of the president as a lawyer perhaps is more than my entire age.
All right.
So it is shocking that he himself is engaged in disregard to the very laws that he swore an oath to protect. This minister for roads did that. Apart from the minister for roads, who did that? People are suffering. We were told that they were going to turn them to, what's the name? Washrooms. Places of convenience.
That was said to that was just a...
No, did they say it or they didn't say it?
Murtala likes propaganda.
He said it among other things.
So let's forget of the among others, the others, and look at this one.
Right. So let's focus on our final.
Are you not guys interested in asking?
Let's focus on
whether
our
they have
final
turned the places to the washrooms. You are not interested.
In terms of the fuel prices, we know where they've gone. I mean, yesterday when I purchased fuel, so 11 CDs, 11 pesos was what I was paying per liter. Diesel is, at least where I buy from, and I'm not going to mention where, diesel was over 12 CDs per liter.
Now 13 CDs.
I see you guys deliberating among yourselves. I mean, where it's edging towards is depending on where you go, some say it's even 13 CDs.
Yeah,
and you can tell what impact that would have, especially on farmers, because all their agricultural equipment, diesel. Those who use the public transports, the vans and all of those ones, when you go to the trotro stations, they are all diesel operated. So that's a huge problem. But the context is that the Bank of Ghana is rationing the dollars it gives to the BDCs. And they are claiming they are getting about 20% of what they want. So in the end, they will have to go to the foreign exchange, the forex exchange, or the Goro boys or whatever, the black market to get it, and that shouldn't even be legal. But the black market is legal. It's very legal. There's a police station, very prominent police station in this country, very close to it. There's a black market there. I'll just not mention where.
Police station.
Murtala, you like trouble? Oh no.
Well, I'm just adding.
I said I wouldn't say
Now we
anything.
start them.
Why? So that is the situation. What do you see? Where do we go from here?
I think the fuel business is a bit worrying. I mean,
It's not only that.
Murtala, please.
I traveled to my constituency this weekend, and I spent about 3,000 cedis just on fuel. I mean,
Wow.
you have to pay 1,003 in coming back, and the rounds that you make and all.
3,000 to Impraiso and back.
No, so
Just to Impraiso.
no. When you get to Impraiso, you need to go around the constituency, visit people,
Definitely.
and all of that. You do 1,003 in, you do some rounds and all of that. So it's a bit worrying. But you see, like I said, it is because of the moments that we find ourselves. I mean,
Please let him.
aside the taxes that we've seen on the build up to the petroleum products, government really do not have control over the pricing of petrol products. Government don't.
We're producing what 200,000 barrels per day. We can do something about that. I've heard analysts talk about this. We're producing 200,000 barrels per day. We can do a lot, even if it's not what we are bringing in from other sources. What we produce locally, we can have some reductions in there to cushion ordinary Ghanaians, but we are not doing that.
The reality is that, I mean, right from the onset, these oils that come from whatever really do not belong to us. That's the problem.
Why?
I mean, we get virtually 10% of the revenue. You would admit.
I won't admit anything.
You would admit that we get virtually
I'm not going to
10%
admit anything.
of revenue on oil. That is the problem. But these are difficult moments, like I said. I mean, unless you are not hit by it. I mean, each and every day, you get calls from your constituents, taxi drivers in your constituency complain. And all I can say is that, I mean, these are difficult moments. We surely would get out of this. All we need to do is to begin to appreciate that the times we are in are not normal. I mean,
In the meantime, Murtala, and we're wrapping on this in the next 2-3
Murtala
months.
is
we
done.
should be
I mean,
wrapping
he has
up.
nothing to say.
He has nothing to say, huh?
I mean,
Don't mind.
Okay, so a fuel shortage looms and pricing is escalating. Your take?
Well, I was particularly happy when you referred, you reminded him that we are more or less a net producer of crude. If you take the 2019 budget,
But nothing on the scale of some of our neighbors. Nigeria is producing in the...
We're not interested in our neighbors, we're interested in Ghana. Nigeria, they have subsidized prices for fuel.
Right, and they are trying to move away from that.
That is what this government should do. When you are in extreme realities, you need extreme resolutions. Nigeria has taken the decisions to subsidize that because they know we are in challenging times. But spare us this idea of the fact that because we are not in normal times, COVID and others, that is the more reason why people have problems with the kind of investment you are getting yourself into. At the very time we are being asked to tighten our belts, they don't even have belt hooks. Look at me, I have a very big belt. He doesn't even have a belt hooks. Go to the flag house. The president is asking us to increase the number of people he wants to work with him. And he's asking us to increase his budget as much as 2 billion. That is what the president is asking us. So you are mocking us. If the president needed to make the people of this country to believe him, let's see you walk your talk. But that is not what is being demonstrated. Let me give you another example. And I listened to your station yesterday. The reason why they have a challenge with regards to some of these things is because the cedi has lost its value, several percentage-wise as compared to our neighbors. Now people buy in this thing using the dollar. Now if your currency is losing like someone who has gotten koshoko, in fact our currency is now suffering from koshoko, the Ghana cedis, against other foreign currencies. Under NDC, how much was a liter of petrol? How much is it today? Under NDC. Under NDC, what was unemployment under President Mahama? What is it today? Tell me one area this Minister for Finance has succeeded. One area, just one. He has failed in all the indicators that should determine and measure the performance of a minister. Why is he still the minister? Privately, They all cry.
Because the executive has trust in him.
Because he is using Oforiatta. If you want to remain in
There were times when Setekpe, when he was minister, you faced a lot of challenges. Did you sack
Are you
Setekpe?
comparing this moribund performance with what Setekpe did? Is that what you are saying?
I'm saying that you had your challenges.
Hold on. We will always...
In terms of the currency, in terms of fuel prices and all of that.
We always have challenges.
In terms of managing the economy. Why didn't you sack Setekpe?
It was a million miles better than this. Even with the challenges under Setekpe, what was the rate of unemployment was what? Inflation was what? How much was a gallon of petrol? How much was the CD to the dollar? Comparing Setekpe with this man, this Minister for Finance, Setekpe is a saint. I am saying that the Minister for Finance is still there. The Minister for Finance is still there because he is a family relation. Look, if you want to get appointment under this government or you want to remain as a minister, just go and swear affidavit. Add Oforiatta to your name. I can tell you, you'll be a minister. This is a president who doesn't even reshuffle. Ministers are so comfortable that they know that there won't be any reshuffle. Look at a person like Dr. Sibe Yebua. Very sharp guy. Dr. Akutose.
You're speaking of the one who was on the finance
committee. I sat in the finance committee with him. Dr. Akutose. Look, there was nobody. When NDC lost election, I said, I guess on your station, that the best person they would have appointed as a minister for finance was Dr. Akutose. The reason was what? He was the ranking member on finance for 8 years. So there was nobody who appreciated the true state of the economy of Ghana at that time than him. You know why he didn't appoint him? He didn't have Oforiatta attached to his name.
Please. Gentlemen, this is where we draw the curtains on the conversation. Thank you very much for joining. And OPK, we're grateful that you joined us for the first time. It's been refreshing.
At OPK,
so, Davis Ansah Opoku is Member of Parliament for Mpraeso.
Add Oforiatta.
Did you add Oforiatta to your name?
Yes.
Are you gunning for any position?
Yes, he
per
is.
Murtala?
Yes, he is. Add Oforiatta.
I want to be Murtala's special assistant.
Add Oforiatta to the name, my brother.
Murtala Muhammed is Member of Parliament for Tamale Central. Now, when we return, we're going to be bringing you AM business later, but we'll also bring you the conversation when it comes to our toll